Well, I suppose it's been a while since I've done one of these poll videos, and I have to admit there's not too many options available on this one, like usual. Usually I have a list of like, a dozen plus options for people, but I want to stick to a particular series, in this case, the Tales of series, which means I basically have three options as far as I see it. The first option, since we finished the main story of Tales of Legend, is to just continue with Tales of Legend and cover the post-game content. There actually is story relevance to the post-game content, and it actually does have another Save the World quest attached to it. So, there are more world-saving adventures to be had in that game, albeit, it's going to be a much faster quest than the main story was. And there's other reasons why people might be interested in covering the post-game content in this case, since it actually does close up some story threads that were left open during the main game. So if you're curious about if Chloe gets her revenge, or do Will and Harriet ever get along, or some other quests spots that were left open, like, oh, we have this plot thread that's left hanging out there, but no one ever tied it into a neat bow. Yeah, the character quest basically is what you want to see. So it actually does have some story relevance for those that are interested in seeing it. The another option would basically be to hit Tales of the Abyss and just drop Tales of Legend entirely and move on into another project. I don't really know that much about Tales of the Abyss, to be honest, since I've never played it before, so I honestly can't tell you if it's a better game or if it's a worse game, or if it's a game I'd have to use a walkthrough in order to cover or not, because with some games, you only get the true ending if you do certain things throughout the game. And with Tales of Symphonia, I know that's the case. With Tales of the Abyss, I don't. I'd actually have to look it up, which would be something I'd only really do if it actually wins the poll. And with Tales of Symphonia, well, I'm a bit hesitant to cover it, to be honest. Mainly because my experiences with this game previously were not the best. Me and my brother basically tag teamed up on this one, or I should say my middle brother and I tag teamed up on it. Younger brother, not the youngest one, but yeah. And we got through about quarter or halfway through it, maybe quarter, third, half, something like that. A decent chunk of the way through, more than 10 hours. So quite a hearty chunk of time was put into it. Not as bad as, say, Disgaea, where I've dumped over 300 hours in the game over the years, but yeah, enough to be noticeable. And then we discovered, at that point, like, oh, we can't get the true ending as we missed this, and this. We're like, screw it, we're not going to finish this. We're not going to redo all that work, and this got dropped like a sack of bricks, and I've never really come back to it. So yeah, this is a game where I started it, and I've never finished it. So you could argue that I should come back to it one of these days, and maybe this is the time to try and finish this up, because, I should probably finish what I started at some point, right? But if you do pick this one, I'm not doing Tales of Symphonia 2. Yes, this has a sequel, but guess what? It's on the Wii, and I don't have a copy of that game. Nor do I really care to hook up a Wii, because I hate Wii controls. Seriously, I hate the Wii. Screw the Wii and its motion controls. I hate them. I suppose you can argue it's just because I like making these big motions with the motion controls instead of using, like, little jerks and stuff. But yeah, I hate the motion controls. I'm like, what's wrong with a basic controller? Give me a D-pad or an analog stick and some buttons. Screw the whole move your wrist stuff. Ugh. No wonder I stick to, old game consoles, right? I don't want to have to deal with that motion stuff. I have to get up and actually move. But yeah. If I do this one, I'm definitely going to be using a walkthrough throughout the entire run, which may or may not make the commentary better, because if I'm using a walkthrough, I'm probably going to know what's coming up ahead of time. Unless I get a walkthrough, it's basically just going to cover story points and not go into unnecessary details about how to deal with every single boss you come across in the game, and I'm not sure that's going to be an option for me. There may be a walkthrough like that out there on the internet somewhere, or there may not be. I may get a walkthrough that basically tells me how every single fight works, which will make fights very boring for me, since I'll probably follow the guide and constantly be higher level than recommended, or using a strategy the person that did the walkthrough recommends, which means I'll just cream the bosses and be bored out of my mind with the fights. I suppose you know that somewhat applies with Tales of Legenda, but at least with that game you had to constantly bash the buttons, so at least your fingers were busy while I was crap talking the game sometimes. Though I suppose you can argue you have to hit the buttons quite a bit in this one too. So even if I know what I'm doing, at least I'll be pressing buttons. Ugh. And the combat system's not as automated as Tales of Legends is. And with this one, you actually could bring in multiple people to play as well, I think. If you have multiple controllers and they control other characters in combat, but I doubt that's going to happen, because I doubt I can get anyone else to tag team up with me for playing a game like this, even if that was an option, and I only have one good GameCube controller anyway. Yeah, most of the GameCube controllers I have are pretty broken at this point. Largely, they spin the camera around like crazy and stuff like that. It's irritating. But yeah, 3 options, and I'm going to close the poll at midnight on Monday, because I'm probably going to be starting early Tuesday morning if I have my way when it comes to getting the recordings done. Assuming I don't get caught up in a grinding fest and go to bed for a couple hours and get up and start doing videos, which basically happened last Tuesday. And hopefully I don't end up staying up too late tonight, because I was an hour late to work this morning from trying to process and upload that Seven Kingdoms scenario that no one cares about. I think it's gotten one view that isn't me and has no comments on it that aren't for myself at the moment, which isn't too surprising. There's only so much appeal Seven Kingdoms can have, and my campaign style is pretty slow usually. Even when I play scenarios, I tend to play them not as aggressively as I should. I tend to be a much more patient and methodical player, preparing for an end game, at a later date, and then smashing everyone all at the same time. So yeah, it's a setup race for me, which can be pretty boring for an audience. As enjoyable as it is to do the build-up, it's not enjoyable to watch necessarily. Until next time, then. See ya.